Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Sweet Bats, and I'm excited to be sharing my first ever repaint video. For Halloween and the beginning of my channel, I wanted to do a big special project and make all three of the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. And I'll be starting off with the drummer Dusk, using this Frankie Stein doll. I got this doll secondhand, and you can see she's a little bit dirty, and her hair has certainly seen better days. So I'm going to be getting rid of all that and giving her her new look. Before cutting the hair, I like to set down a paper towel and pull the hair into a ponytail, if it isn't already, for easier cleanup. For this doll, I should have loosened the ponytail a bit so it wasn't so close to the head, which would have made it much easier to cut. Take a nice sharp pair of scissors and begin cutting as close to the scalp as possible. Once you're done, you'll have a stubbly head like this. If the hair is in good condition, it may actually be worth keeping for a future project, but this hair was pretty gross, so to the trash it goes. Remove the head from the body, then taking a pair of long nail nose pliers, begin scraping at the inside of the head to remove the hair. It's super satisfying watching entire rows of plugs get sucked into the head, but sometimes can be a little tough if the glue inside is acting up. I like using forceps to remove the hair, but pliers can work too. And speaking of satisfying, I absolutely love pulling out massive chunks of gluey hair like this one. It's so gross, but it's so satisfying once it finally pops out. Once the head has been cleaned, start on the wig. I like leaving the paint on the head to work as a bit of a guideline for the wig cap. And be sure to put plastic wrap on the doll head like I forgot to do. I won't be going into it too much, but you can check out Moziquito's tutorials for more in-depth information on how to make the wig caps and wigs. I do like using the silicone brush since the glue peels off so easily once I'm done making the wig cap. And once the glue is dried, you can see the outline so much clearer for more layers of glue. While I wait for the wig cap to fully dry after applying more glue, I use acetone to remove the stitches from Frankie's body. I know you aren't supposed to use acetone on the bodies, but I thought if I washed the plastic in soapy water immediately after, and you can see the leg melted a bit, even though the acetone worked fairly well on the lower arms. To fix this, I'll be using a sanding block to smooth out the bits of the leg I ruined, and to finish removing the paint from her body, since clearly the acetone is not an option. As you can see, it actually works pretty well at removing the paint, and I should have just done this to begin with instead of thinking that I could outsmart chemistry. And here it is after sanding everything down. I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised with how well it worked at not only removing the paint, but covering up the mistake I made. To really finish it up, I use one of those nail buffer blocks you can get at a drugstore, using all four sides to ensure that the plastic looks brand new. Once the wig cap is dry, cut off the excess. I actually didn't take into account that the guidelines I was using didn't extend to the actual hairline, and my wig cap came up a bit short all around. I ended up kind of Frankensteining, pun semi-intended, fabric scraps to extend the wig cap, so while I wait for that to dry, I take my nail polish remover and cotton balls and begin wiping the head clean. It's always fun being able to wipe off the entire eye just like that. For those stubborn, hard-to-reach areas like the inside of the lips, I pull out a bit of the cotton and poke it into the grooves with this thin crochet needle to remove as much of the paint as possible. Then I move on to making yarn wefts for Dusk's wig. I found that these small envelopes work great for measuring the yarn. While I usually use the longer end, I won't need long hair, so I use the shorter side. Again, please check out Moziquito's tutorials for full, in-depth instructions on the wig making process. I'll go ahead and link them in the description. Basically, once I've measured and cut the yarn, I loop them onto another crochet needle and brush them out to unravel them. Once they're all brushed out, I take a flat iron on a low setting and straighten the yarn. And we're all done. Now all I need to do is cut it, use glue to make the individual wefts, and then wait for them to dry. When I lay them out on this plastic piece here, I use another crochet needle to just separate them a little bit and then comb it out just to make sure that it looks really nice. Then I glue it down, use that silicone brush again to brush the glue on, and then just make it look pretty. Here's a few stages of the wig making process, as well as the semi-final result. At this point, I still thought I could keep the wig like this and no one would notice all the obvious mistakes. Eventually, I ended up making a better fitting cap to glue to the inside of this one. I should have just remade it to begin with, but I really didn't want to redo the whole wig. Oh well, it was a good learning experience. Now on to the fun part, drawing on the new face. I start with pastels on the lips, making fast friends with my kneaded eraser to clean up. Then, once I get the lips shaped how I like, I move on to Dusk's eye makeup. I had a bit of trouble with her because the character has no eyebrows, so I kept feeling like her forehead was huge. But then again, eyebrows are a bit of a pain to draw, so I guess it's not that bad of a trade-off. And really, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I reshaped these eyes so many times until I got them just how I wanted them, and even then, I still had to correct a bit. I come back and build up a bit more color on the lips before coming in with black for the upper lip. I also draw on her mole, beauty mark, whatever this is on her cheek, then move on to drawing the eyes. As you can see, I still need a bit more touch up on the makeup before continuing with the eye shape. I use a Q-tip to smudge the makeup a bit before drawing in the iris, and promptly messing up one of them and needing to redo it. Once I've got the irises how I want them, I fill in the whites of the eyes, then darken the irises. Most of the hex girls actually have pure black eyes, but I thought brown would be a bit more fitting. So I start with the light brown as a base so I can build up and darken it later. I build up color in a few more areas before taking it outside for a spray of Mr. Super Clear, which I forgot to mention I used to prime the doll with as well. Once enough time has passed that a lighting change is in order, I know the sealant has dried and I can work on the next layer. I add details like the corners of the eyes and continue to build up the features I've already drawn. I wanted to keep the dolls somewhat pale, so I stayed away from blush, but realized after the first layer, and especially under this light, that contour was necessary. So grabbing some green pastel, I brushed some onto areas that need a bit of definition. I didn't like how orange the eyes turned out when I was actually going for light brown, so I took a dark brown to go over it, leaving a slice of orangey brown as a kind of catch light, which I ended up not liking, and ended up just filling in anyways. Taking my black watercolor pencil, I define the lines of the eyes and add the eyelashes, and just basically continue to build up color throughout the rest of the doll. I build up the pastel eyeshadow, as it's starting to get overwhelmed by the black pencil lines. I add a bit of highlight to the eyeshadow, build up the pencil color a bit more, And off camera, I add catch lights with white acrylic paint before coming in with my Tamiya gloss, which I use to paint on the eyes and the lips to give the doll that extra spark of life. And with that, the actual face-up is done. I take Sculpey clay to make some of the details, such as the earrings, the little balls in her hair, and her necklace, taking my best guess at how long to bake for, given the teeny tiny size of these details. Here, I use these mini pins and add little clay balls to them before baking them. I also use these pins for the earrings, but unfortunately didn't film that process. And here's the hair accessories painted and glossed. Not too bad for my first time. Next, I cut off a length of black ribbon to use as her choker. I want to make sure it covers up her bolt scars, since I didn't have any other way to mask those. This is actually a really convenient necklace for this character and this doll. It worked out perfectly. After gluing the choker right where I want it, I used this acrylic paint to add the stud details directly on it. Here's the necklace I made with the Sculpey, with a string glued to it. And with that, Dusk is basically finished. You may have noticed I didn't tie the necklace, and I don't plan to until I've made her clothes, which is unfortunately probably going to be a while since I need a lot of sewing practice. As far as face-ups go, I'm extremely pleased with Dusk, and I adore how she turned out. I can't wait to have the rest of her bandmates join her. Thank you so much for watching my first video. It means so much to me, and I really hope you stick around my channel and see what else I create. Take care, and I'll see you next time.